and welcome to the Irish History Podcast Quiz Night. My name is Finbar Dwyer, and I make the Irish History Podcast. And today I decided to organise an online quiz. We're all stuck at home, social distancing, and can't get out. And tonight we're going to have an Irish History quiz, and it's in aid of an excellent organisation called the Mater Foundation. So the Mater Foundation supports the amazing work in the Mater Hospital in Dublin. And I'm aware there's lots of people tuning in from around the world, and maybe I'll just take a second just to explain what the Mater Foundation is and does, because it supports really crucial work going on in the Mater Hospital in Dublin, which is one of Dublin's biggest hospitals and is at the forefront of the fight against COVID in Ireland. So it's a really worthy cause. Now tonight we're going to have lots of fun. I've got some amazing prizes that have been donated by various different people. You can see a full list of the prizes that are available in the quiz in the description below this stream. You can see them all there. And there's also going to be spot prizes. And actually, before the quiz starts, just while I'm explaining how the quiz is going to work, I've got a spot prize of a gold subscription to Irish Newspaper Archives. Now, any of you who've got any kind of an interest, even a passing interest in history, Irish Newspaper Archives is an amazing resource. It's got hundreds of years of history and newspapers there. So if you want to be in with a chance to win that subscription in about 3 minutes' time, what I need you to do first is to go on to matterfoundation.ie. You can find that address in the description box below, and if you go on there, make a donation and just take a screen grab of the thank you note. You needn't show how much you've donated, just the thank you note. And I'm going to ask a question in about 2 or 3 minutes, and the first person to email the answer to the question and a screen grab of a donation to the Mater Foundation, the thank you note, will win that subscription to Irish Newspaper Archives. So if you want to go and donate now to matterfoundation.ie, I'm going to explain a little bit about how the quiz is going to work. So the quiz will probably take about an hour and a half, I reckon. It's fully automated. I had this bizarre idea, or this really stupid idea rather, that I was going to correct all these, everyone's answers one by one, but there's been quite an interest in this, and we've like nearly 300 people tuning in at the moment. So it's all been done on a Google form. So in the description box below, you can see there's a link also there. There's a lot of stuff in the description below the video, but there's a Google form there, and if you click on that and open that up, you'll see that the first screen just asks you to put in your name and your email address, and then when you click past that, you're going to see a series of you see question 1, question 2, question 3 to question 4, and then 5 options to answer each question. And I'm going to, as the quiz goes through, I'll read out each question. You'll be able to select the answer from 1 of 5, and we'll move through them round by round. So I'm going to read out, the way it'll work is I'll read out the question, I'll read out the 5 answers, then we'll move on to question 2, question 3, question 4, and then I'll read out all the questions in each round just before we move on to round 2. There's 9 rounds in total. I should really know this. There's 9 rounds in total, and I have them all on my phone, all the questions on my phone, so if you see me looking off screen like this, I'm not texting someone on the slide, I'm reading the questions. But just to give you a sense of the rounds we're going to be talking about. So the first round is on kings and warlords, then we're going to move on to revolutionaries, then we've got a round on mythology. Thanks to Steph Lord for writing that. That would probably be beyond my scope, mythology. Then I've got a round on scandal. One on music, thanks to Sam McGrath for writing that one. Then we have a round on war and empire. There's a lot of various different questions thrown into that. Then we have a round on assassins and murders. Round 8 is on sport, thanks to Kevin Brannigan for writing up those. I would have been hopeless. It would have just probably been about Kilkenny hurling, and that's about it. And then the last one is kind of a general history round. Then after that, I'm going to get you all to submit on the Google Doc. You'll click submit. I'll get an Excel spreadsheet, and we'll find out who's won. I will say, just for everyone, bear in mind, it's a fun quiz. I'm not a professional quiz master. I might make mistakes along the way. But have a bit of fun. I've got a drink here. Get yourself a drink if you want before we start. What I will say is try and make that donation to the Mater Foundation, because in about 60 seconds I'm going to ask the first question for a spot prize just before we begin the quiz, and you'll have an option to win a subscription to Irish Newspaper Archives. One other thing that I am going to do at about 9 o'clock, if the quiz is still going on, and I'd say it will be, I'm going to stop for a little break at 9 o'clock because there's an event called Shine a Light going on in Ireland. If you're tuning in from overseas, Shine a Light has been organised to basically pay tribute to all those involved or suffering from COVID. And I think at this stage lots of us know different people who've contracted it in many cases, who've passed away from it. And Shine a Light has been organised to pay tribute to those people and also people in the front line. So that's happening at 9 o'clock. So we'll take about a 5-minute break there. You can go get another cup of tea, get a pint if you're having one, and we'll just finish off the quiz then. If there is a tie break at the end, I have another round of questions. There's a special 10 questions, 10 quite hard questions that will separate out the ultimate winner. But let's crack on. Just before I start, I'm going to ask that question for the spot prize. So the first person to email me at history@irishhistorypodcast.ie, that email address, history@irishhistorypodcast.ie, is going to win a that's a gold subscription to the Irish Newspaper Archives. And the question is, when did the Mater Hospital first open its doors to the public? If you send the answer to that question to me, don't forget the screen grab of the donation to the Mater Hospital, the Mater Foundation rather, and if you send that to me, the first person, I'm just going to check my email now, and the first person to send me in the answer gets the correct answer, is going to win a prize. I'm working my way through these folks and I can't find one with so you're going to have to bear with me here, folks. There's a lot of emails coming in. What I might do is I'm going to start the first round and I'll announce the winner at the end of the first round. Sorry about that. I'm going to so the first round will start if you open up your Google Doc or Google form there, and you'll see you have to enter in your email address and your name. And then once you've done that, move on to the second page. Just click next, and the first round is on kings and warlords. And the first question in kings and warlords, you've got five answers there. The first question is: a plan was devised to kidnap which monarch and bring them to the Wicklow Mountains during a royal visit to Ireland? Possible answers are Henry II, George IV, Queen Victoria, Queen Elizabeth II, or Prince Charles. Question 2. Which Irish island had its own king into the 21st century? The Aran Islands, the Inishkea Islands, Tory Island, Cape Clear Island, the Great Blasket Island. Question 3. Which of these monarchs besieged Dublin? Henry II, Robert Bruce, Henry VII, Queen Mary, or William IV? Question 4. Henry O'Farrell tried to assassinate which royal? Prince Edward, Prince Albert, Prince Alfred, Prince Philip, or Prince Louis? The answer to that question again is Henry O'Farrell, an Irishman, tried to assassinate which royal? Prince Edward, Prince Albert, Prince Alfred, Prince Philip, or Prince Louis? Question 5. Who succeeded Brian Boru as High King? Who succeeded Brian Boru as High King? Niall Glundove, Muelshochnoll I, Murchatoch O'Brien. I've just got I've got a reminder from my sister to slow down. That's why I slowed down in the middle of the question. I'll start that again. Who succeeded Brian Boru as High King? Niall Glundove, Muelshochnoll I, Murchatoch O'Brien, Muelshochnoll II, or Flann Sinna? Who succeeded Brian Boru as High King? Question 6. The official entity of the Kingdom of Ireland came into existence in the 16th century. When did it cease to exist? The Act of Union 1800, Catholic Emancipation in 1829, Irish Independence in 1922, the Declaration of the Irish Republic in 1949, or it technically still exists. So which of those is the correct answer as to when the Kingdom of Ireland ceased to exist? Question 7. Which Irish courtesan was blamed for the 1848 rebellion in Bavaria? Mary O'Malley, Lola Montez, Charlotte Clancy, Eleanor Fitzgerald, or Jane Celeste? Which Irish courtesan was blamed for the 1848 rebellion in Bavaria? Just to read through those questions again. A plan was devised to kidnap which monarch and bring them to the Wicklow Mountains during a royal visit to Ireland? That's question 1. Question 2. Which Irish island had its own king into the 21st century? Question 3. Which of these monarchs besieged Dublin? Question 4. The Irishman Henry O'Farrell tried to assassinate which of those royals? Question 5. Who succeeded Brian Boru as High King? And you've got 5 options there. Anyone who listened to the really early versions of the podcast might have a sense of who that would be. Question 6. The official entity of the Kingdom of Ireland came into existence in the 16th century. When did it cease to exist? And you've got again 5 options there, including one that says it technically still exists. And question 7. Which Irish courtesan was blamed for the 1848 rebellion in Bavaria? And again, we have the 5 options there. So next, I'm going to ask you to move on, and if you click next, I think is the option there. If you move on to section 2, which is Revolutionaries. So the first question of section 2. Anne Devlin was involved in which Irish rebellion? Anne Devlin was involved in which Irish rebellion? The 1641 rebellion, the 1803 rebellion, the 1916 rising, the War of Independence. It says 1919 there, but that's the War of Independence or the Troubles. Question 2. The American revolutionary and trade unionist Mother Jones was born where? The US revolutionary and trade unionist Mother Jones was born where? Cork, Dublin, Kilkenny, Waterford, or Tipperary? Question 3. Which Irish revolutionary had the surname Booth on her birth cert? Kathleen Lynn, Muriel McSweeney, Constance Markovich, Hannah Sheehy Skeffington, Jenny Wise Power. Which revolutionary had the surname Booth on her birth cert? Now, question 4. Which one of these individuals from Ireland's revolutionary generation was the last to die? Tom Barry, Muriel McSweeney, Florence O'Donoghue, Rosie Hackett, or Eamon de Valera? Which one of them was the last to die? Question 5. The Battle of Carrickshock took place in which conflict? The Battle of Carrickshock. So was it during the 1798 rebellion, the Tide War, the Land War, the anti-conscription movement, or the War of Independence? Question 6. Oliver Bond was a member of which organisation? This is Oliver Bond. The Provisional IRA, the Fenians, the Society of United Irishmen, the Irish Volunteers, or the White Boys? Oliver Bond. The Provisional IRA, the Fenians, the Society of United Irishmen, the Irish Volunteers, or the White Boys? And question 7, to bring the section on revolutionaries to a close, is the Cork native Fergus O'Connor was a leading figure in which 19th century radical movement? Fergus O'Connor was a leading member even, in which 19th century radical movement? The Molly Maguires, the Land League, the Chartists, the First International, or the International Working Men's Association? The Molly Maguires, the Land League, the Chartists, the First International, or the International Working Men's Association? So I'm going to read back through the questions again, and I'll give you a minute then to think over it before we move on to round 3, which is mythology. So question 1. Anne Devlin was involved in which Irish rebellion? That's question 1 in Revolutionaries. Question 2 was about Mother Jones, the US revolutionary. Where was she born? Question 3. Which revolutionary had the surname Booth on her birth cert? Question 4. Which one of these individuals was from Ireland's revolutionary generation was the last to die? Which one of those people was the last to die? Question 5 rather. The Battle of Carrickshock, in which conflict did that take place in? Question 6 is about Oliver Bond. Which organisation was Oliver Bond a leading member of? And then question 7 is about the Cork native Fergus O'Connor. What was he involved in? You've got the 5 options there. So I'm going to give you a minute just to think back over that. A couple of people have been in touch and have said that they want to have a little bit of time at the end to think about that. I'm going to announce who has won the competition. There's a great response to that, folks. Thanks a million, and I'm still trying to find the first person with the correct answer. The correct answer, incidentally, was 1861. I'm still scrolling through the answers here. Okay. The correct answer the winner is Ciara O'Halloran. Ciara O'Halloran was the first person to respond in. If you did respond to that, I will have another competition for another subscription to Irish Newspaper Archives, and I'd like to thank them for supporting this. I'll have another one later on in the competition. But congratulations to Ciara O'Halloran, who has won the first subscription. I'll be in touch after the quiz, Ciara, to sort out getting that to you. Okay, let's move on to the next round. So then round 3 is on mythology. Just let me get up the questions here. So round 3 is on mythology. Thanks to Steph Lord for writing up these. I'd be a bit hopeless myself on this aspect of our past, or was it? Anyway, let's start. So the first question is, who killed Fionn McCool's father? Who killed Fionn McCool's father? Gull MacMorna, Gillan Macmillan, Gormla, Satanta, or Baylor? Question 2. In the mythological cycle, what race from northern Spain, usually considered the ancestors of the Gaels, invaded Ireland and overthrew the Tuatha De Danann? The Fir Bolg, the Aesheatha, the Milesians, the Aesir, or the Fomorians? Which one of those groups came from northern Spain according to Irish mythology and overthrew the Tuatha De Danann? Question 3. In mythology, who is credited with the invention of the Ogham alphabet? In Irish mythology, who is credited with the invention of the Ogham alphabet? Queen Maeve, Lug, Oma, Deirdre, or Fond? What was the name of question 4 rather. What was the name of Cuchulain's best friend and foster brother that he fought to the death in single combat in the Táin Bó Cúailnge? What was the name of Cuchulain's best friend and foster brother he fought to the death in single combat in the Táin Bó Cúailnge? Question 5. What was the name of the stone at the hill of Tara that legend has it roared when the rightful king stood upon it? Question 5. What is the name of the stone at the hill of Tara that legend has it roared when the rightful high king stood upon it? Is it the Undri, the holy stone of Clonrickard, the Leah Fall, the Blarney Stone, or Stonehenge? Question 6. Where did Cahora Macnossa's brown bull that Queen Maeve stole roam? Where did King Cahora Macnossa's brown bull that Queen Maeve stole roam? The 5 options there are Carlow, Kinnegad, Kilkenny, Cooley, or Cork. And question 7, the last question in the mythological section, is what goddess, often associated with death in battle, is sometimes depicted as a crow and also appears washing blood-stained clothes to those who are about to die? Is it Bowen, the Morrigan, Eton, Maeve, and Neve? What goddess, often associated with death in battle, is sometimes depicted as a crow and also appears washing blood-stained clothes to those about to die? Just to read back through those questions, this is the mythology section. If you're just joining us, don't worry, it's not all mythology. The first question is, who killed Fionn McCool's father? Second question, in the mythological cycle, what race from northern Spain, usually considered the ancestors of the Gaels, invaded Ireland and overthrew the Tuatha De Danann? Question 3 rather, in mythology who is credited with the invention of the Ogham alphabet? Question 4. What is the name of Cuchulain's best friend and foster brother that he fought to the death in single combat in the Táin Bó Cúailnge? Question 5. What is the name of the stone at the hill of Tara that legend has it roared when the rightful king stood upon it? Question 6. Where did Cruthór Mac Nasa's brown bull that Queen Maeve stole roam? And question 7. What goddess, often associated with death in battle, is sometimes depicted as a crow and also appears washing blood-stained clothing to those who are about to die? You've got the 5 options there. Thanks to Steph Lord for those questions. The next round is on scandal, but I'm going to give you a minute just to think over those before we move on. If anyone is joining us since we started, just to remind people, this is for the Mater Foundation. The Mater Foundation do amazing work supporting the Mater Hospital in Dublin, which is obviously at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19 at the moment, and that anything you have, whether small or large, or whatever you can afford, is really important. We've already done a spot prize where when you make a donation, you get a thank you page, and you just need to screen grab that and keep that. And so far, we've already had one winner of a great prize, which was a gold membership of Irish Newspaper Archives. I'll be having another spot prize later on in the quiz, or maybe we might even do 2 more. So I'm going to ask another question. Kira, who won the last time, can't enter a second time, but it's what I would say though is it's really important to support people like the Mater Foundation. So if whatever you have, go to materfoundation.ie and give them what you have, because you're assured it's going to a good cause there. I'm going to move on to the next round, which is scandal. Yes, scandal. This is maybe my favourite round. So question 1. This question could have gone into pretty much any of the rounds, certainly revolutionaries or even assassinations maybe. The daughter of the one-time Lord Chancellor of Ireland, Lord Ashburn, tried to assassinate which dictator? The daughter of the one-time Lord Chancellor of Ireland, Lord Ashburn, tried to assassinate which dictator? Adolf Hitler, General Franco, Joseph Stalin, Benito Mussolini, Dr. Salazar. So that's the daughter of the one-time Lord Chancellor of Ireland, Lord Ashburn, tried to assassinate which dictator? Question 2. Oscar Wilde sued which aristocrat for libel, a case that would lead to his own prosecution? Oscar Wilde sued which aristocrat for libel, a case which would lead to his own prosecution? The options there are the Duke of Devonshire, the Marquess of Queensberry, the Earl of Shaftesbury, the Duke of Rutland, and the Earl of Portland. Sorry folks, I'm just going to turn on a light here for a second, it's very dark. So yeah, that was question 2. Who did Oscar Wilde sue, a case that would eventually lead to his own prosecution? Question 3. Michael Collins was rumoured to have had an affair with one of the following women. Who was it? The Marchioness of Ormond, Maud Gonne, Lady Gregory, Lady Lavery, or Countess Markievicz? Michael Collins was rumoured in the 1920s to have had an affair with one of those women. Who was it? Question 4. The journalist Richard Pigott tried to blackmail which one of these Irish politicians? Daniel O'Connell, Charles Stewart Parnell, Roger Casement, Isaac Butt, or John MacBride? Question 5. Louisa Murphy was the lover Louisa Murphy was the lover of which of the following men? Frederick Engels, Wilhelm I of Prussia, Louis XV of France, John Locke, Clemens von Metternich. The Irishwoman Louisa Murphy was the lover of which one of those men? Frederick Engels, Wilhelm I of Prussia, Louis XV of France, John Locke, or Clemens von Metternich? And question 6. To avoid unwanted marriages, Eleanor Butler eloped with Sarah Ponsonby. The two became known as the ladies of which Welsh town? Llanberis, Llandudno, Llanelli, Llangollen, or Llanwrist? Two Irish women, to escape unwanted marriages, Eleanor Butler and Sarah Ponsonby, eloped together. The two would become known as the ladies of which Welsh town? Llanberis, Llandudno, Llanelli, Llangollen, or Llanwrist? And question 7. John Jameson, an heir to Jameson's whiskey, was implicated in a scandal relating to what? John Jameson, an heir to Jameson's whiskey, was implicated in a scandal relating to what? Cannibalism, bigamy, homosexuality, atheism, or Jack the Ripper? So I'm just going to read through those questions again. This is the round on scandal. The first question. The daughter of the one-time Lord Chancellor of Ireland, Lord Ashburn, tried to assassinate which European dictator? Hitler, Franco, Stalin, Mussolini, or Salazar? Question 2. Oscar Wilde sued which aristocrat for libel, a case that would lead to his own prosecution? Question 3. Michael Collins was rumoured to have had an affair with which one of those women? Question 4 is about the journalist Richard Pigott trying to blackmail one of the following Irish politicians: Daniel O'Connell, Charles Stewart Parnell, Roger Casement, Isaac Butt, and John MacBride. Question 5 is about the Irish woman Louisa Murphy. Louisa Murphy was the lover of which one of the following men? Frederick Engels, Wilhelm I of Prussia, Louis XV of France, John Locke, or Clemens von Metternich? Question 6. To avoid unwanted marriages, Eleanor Butler eloped with Sarah Ponsonby. The two women became known as the ladies of which Welsh town? Llanberis, Llandudno, Llanelli, Llangollen, Llanwrist? Question 7. John Jameson, an heir to Jameson's whiskey, was implicated in a scandal relating to which of the following issues? I suppose I don't know how to a word that encapsulates all those things. It was in the 19th century, so I suppose all of them would have been scandal at the time. They're cannibalism, bigamy, homosexuality, atheism, or Jack the Ripper. It was in the late 19th century. The next round is on music, and I'll say thanks, before I start this, thanks to Sam McGrath for putting these together. They're great, and anyone who knows me and my musical tastes would be well aware that I couldn't put this together. After this, I might just take a couple of minutes of a break, just if people want to get a cup of tea or a drink or whatever, and then we will stop again at 9 o'clock. So we'll only stop for like 2 or 3 minutes, but I need to catch my breath. I said I wasn't a professional quiz master. Didn't realise it was such tiring work. So I'm going to start into the music round. Question 1. Enya started her career with whom or who? Alton, the Bothy Band, Clonard, Moving Hearts, or Planxty? It's Enya. Enya started her career with which of those groups? Alton, the Bothy Band, Clonard, Moving Hearts, or Planxty? Question 2. The Dublin Band, which Dublin Band appeared in an episode of the American teen drama TV series The OC in 2005? So which Irish band made an appearance in The OC in 2005? U2, The Thrills, The Frames, Bell X1, or Republic of Loose? Question 3. The Irish folk singer Luca Bloom is the younger brother of which artist? Shane MacGowan, Dolores Keane, Christy Moore, Bob Geldof, or Sharon Shannon? Luca Bloom is the younger brother of which one of those artists? This is one for fans of The Boss. Bruce Springsteen recorded a version of which Irish anti-war ballad for his 2006 album We Shall Overcome, The Seeger Sessions? The 5 options there are Arthur McBride, Streets of Sorrow, North and South of the River, Mrs. McGrath, Salonika. So it's the 5 options there: Arthur McBride, Streets of Sorrow, North and South of the River, Mrs. McGrath, or Salonika. Question 5. The Lion and the Cobra is the debut album of which Irish artist? The Lion and the Cobra. And the 5 options are Van Morrison, Sinead O'Connor, Bob Geldof, Dolores O'Riordan, or Joe Dolan. Joe Dolan. Which one of those artists' first album was The Lion and the Cobra? Question 6. The Clancy brothers were cited as an inspiration by which US musician rather? Arlo Guthrie, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, Emmylou Harris, or Dolly Parton? Which musician said that the Irish group the Clancy brothers were an influence or an inspiration on their work? Arlo Guthrie, Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, Emmylou Harris, or Dolly Parton? It'd be fun actually if you had to come up with the questions just based on the answers anyway. Which Irish singer was commemorated with statues in the Ivy Garden in Dublin in 2008 and Athlone in 2006 and 2014? Which Irish singer was commemorated with statues in the Ivy Garden Dublin in 2008 and Athlone in 2014? And your options there are Luke Kelly, Joe Dolan, John McCormack, Val Doonican, or Rory Gallagher? So just to run through those again, Enya started her career with who? Which Dublin band appeared in an episode of the American teen drama TV series The OC in 2005? Irish folk singer Luca Bloom was the brother of which artist? Bruce Springsteen recorded a version of which Irish anti-war ballad for his 2006 album We Shall Overcome, The Seeger Sessions? The Lion and the Cobra is the debut album of which Irish artist? The Clancy brothers were cited as an inspiration by which artist? In those 5, got some big hitters there. And that was question 6 rather. And question 7, which Irish singer was commemorated with statues in the Ivy Garden in Dublin in 2008 and in Athlone in 2014? And you've got Luke Kelly, Joe Dolan, John McCormack, Val Doonican, Rory Gallagher. Okay, folks, it's 2040. At 2045, I'm going to come back with another question for a spot prize if you want to win a subscription to Irish Newspaper Archives. But come back for us in 5 minutes sharp, because then we're starting into round 7, which is War and Empire, and there's a couple of good questions there, I think, quite appeal there. But yeah, come back in 5 minutes for that question on, and it'll work the same way. If you want to be in for a chance to win that, you need to make a donation and just screen grab the thank you page when you've made a donation, whatever you can afford. They really appreciate anything you have. So like whatever you can afford, just make that donation and you're in with a chance to win a gold subscription to Irish Newspaper Archives. If you've listened to the show, you'll have heard me talking about Irish Newspaper Archives before. But if you're interested in history, it's fab. There's like hundreds of years of archives available there. I'm also going to talk a little bit about what's available, the main prizes. I've got some amazing art, books. I've got a €100 voucher for a jewellery shop. There's some amazing prizes. So come back in 5 minutes. Okay, folks, we're coming back, and to kick off, I'm going to have a spot prize just before we start. And again, it's subscription to Irish Newspaper Archives. This question, all you have to do is send me the screen grab of the thank you along with the answer to this question. And there's no surprise that this question was devised by a doctor, possibly two. Shout out to my sister Ruth. So just send the answer to this, screen grab of the thank you page, and you send that to history@irishhistorypodcast.ie. And the question is, what type of wrist fracture is named after a famous Kilkenny physician? What type of wrist fracture is named after a famous Kilkenny physician? You send the answer to I'm told actually here in an update, he found his anatomy book in a river in Kilkenny and learned his anatomy from that. But you need to send the answer to history@irishhistorypodcast.ie. What we're going to do is we'll continue now with the next round, which is on, what did I say? Oh yeah, it's War and Empire. And I'll, how's it going, Rosie? Just got a message off someone there saying they're tuning in. The next round is War and Empire. So we'll start with question 1. Which war had the largest number of Irish participants? Which war had the largest number of Irish participants in history? The English Civil War, the US Civil War, the Boer War, World War I, or World War II? Which war had the largest number of Irish participants? Question 2. Name the Irish person that was an agent for the Special Operations Executive in World War II. The Irish person who was an agent for the Special Operations Executive in World War II. That was the forerunner to MI5, MI6, or the SAS, probably, one of those. The Special Operations Executive in World War II. And you've got Samuel Beckett, Maureen O'Sullivan, Cathal Jamieson, Mary Mallon, or Hubert Butler. Question 3. During the Spanish Civil War, the Donegal man, Brian Gould Verschoyle, was kidnapped and spirited away to which country, where he was imprisoned and later died in 1942? So the Donegal man, Brian Gould Verschoyle, was kidnapped and spirited away during the Spanish Civil War to which country, where he died in 1942? And the options are Germany, Italy, Spain, Mexico, or the USSR. Germany, Italy, Spain, Mexico, or the USSR. Question 4. Which of these Irishmen served as the Viceroy of India? Which of these Irishmen served as Viceroy of India? George Charles Bingham, the 3rd Earl of Lucan, Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington, Richard Burke, the Earl of Mayo, Francis Effingham, the Baron of Callan, John Butler, the Marquess of Ormond. One of those men served as as Viceroy of India. Which one was it? George Charles Bingham, the 3rd Earl of Lucan, Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington, Richard Burke, the Earl of Mayo, Francis Effingham, the Baron of Callan, John Butler, Marquess of Ormond. Question 5. This is a list of commanders from the Boer War. Which one of them was not born in Ireland? One of these 5 commanders from the Boer War was not born in Ireland. Lord Kitchener, Lord Roberts, Lord French, Sir Thomas Kelly Kenny, or John MacBride. One of the 5 was not born in Ireland. Question 6. The Dubliner Mary Clare Moore was a nurse in which conflict? The 7 Years' War, the Crimean War, the Boer War, World War I, World War II. Mary Clare Moore, an Irish woman, was a nurse in which one of those conflicts? the 7 Years' War, the Crimean War, the Boer War, World War I, and World War II. And this is a test of people's knowledge. The earliest record of Africans in Ireland dates to which time period? So it's the earliest records of Africans in Ireland dates to which time period? 800 to 910, 1170 to 1300, 1400 to 1550, 1625 to 1725, 1775 to 1915. In which of those time periods do we have the earliest record of Africans in Ireland? So 800 to 910, 1170 to 1300, 1400 to 1550, 1625 to 1725, 1775 to 1915. I'm going to go check my email, see who's won the spot prize. The next round, we have 3 more, I think, to go, and we have Assassins and Murderers, though, are up next. I suppose it's Murderers, Assassins and Murderers. The first person, wow, a lot of people. I think people are Wikipedia in this one. Maybe, and the winner is Helen O'Keefe. Helen, thanks a million for that. Congratulations. I'll be in touch after the quiz about the spot prize. So congratulations to Helen O'Keefe. She has won the subscription to Irish Newspaper Archives. And the previous winner was, if I can find it now, previous winner was Ciara O'Halloran. I'll do another one actually before the end of the quiz. I have, we'll do another question for a spot prize before the end of the quiz. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do another round. I'm going to do another round, and then we're going to take that break for the event that's happening at 9 o'clock, Shine a Light. It's a really, lots of people are tuning in from around the world, and I think you can totally appreciate how important these things are, that people come together as a community. So we'll take a break, another break then for about 5 minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll come back. We'll do what we'll do. I tell you, we'll come back. I'm going to do one more round now. We'll come back. We'll take that break, and then we'll come back and we'll have another spot prize. Do the last 2 rounds, and I'll be able to announce the winner then. That's a good way of going about it. So the next round is on Assassins and Murderers. And question 1 of that is: the Viking who killed Brian Boru was reputedly from where? The Viking who killed Brian Boru. Orkney, Denmark, the Isle of Man, Norway, or Iceland? So the Viking who killed Brian Boru in 1014 after the Battle of Clontarf was reputedly from where? Orkney, Denmark, the Isle of Man, Norway, or Iceland? Question 2. In 1882, the Chief Secretary for Ireland, Frederick Cavendish, was killed in the Phoenix Park murders. So too was the Permanent Under-Secretary. What was his surname? So in 1882, the Chief Secretary for Ireland, Frederick Cavendish, was killed in the Phoenix Park murders. So too was the Permanent Under-Secretary. What was his name? And the 5 options there, do we have 6 options there? No, 5. Foster, Brown Johnson, Burke, Thompson, or Clarendon. Question 3. The most famous assassination during the Great Hunger took place outside Strokestown, County Roscommon, in 1847. The victim was the local landlord. What was his name? Lucan, Butler, Mahon, Craig, Wandesford. The most famous assassination during the Great Hunger took place outside Strokestown, County Roscommon, in 1847. The victim was a local landlord. What was his name? Interestingly, he was actually killed in a place called the Khyber Pass at the time, outside Strokestown. Presumably named after the place in Afghanistan. Anyway, you have 5 options there. Question 4. Oswald Swansea was assassinated by the IRA in 1920 because of his involvement in which incident? Oswald Swansea was assassinated by the IRA in 1920 because of his involvement in which incident? The Bloody Sunday Massacre, the murder of Tomas McCurtain, the Cairo Gang, the execution of Kevin Barry, or the murder of Sean Tracy? Which incident was Oswald Swansea involved in for which the IRA assassinated him in 1920? And question 5. When was the last death sentence handed down in Ireland? So when was the last person sentenced to death in Ireland? In the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, or the 80s? Question 6. The victims of the Mam Trasna murders in 1882 were from which family? The victims of the Mam Trasna murders in 1882 were from which family? The Flahertys, the Caseys, the Joyces, the Huddys, or the Cassidys? The Flahertys, the Caseys, the Joyces, the Huddys, or the Cassidys? And then the last one in this round is, when was the last death sentence carried out in Ireland? 1924, 1934, 1942, 1954, or 1964? That's when the last person was actually executed in Ireland. So 1924, 34, 42, 54, or 64? So what I'm going to do is we're going to break for 10 minutes now, folks, and we'll come back at 9:07, and I'm going to have the next spot prize then. I'm going to go through what all the other prizes are, and then we'll continue through to the end of the quiz at that point. As I say, there is an event on in Ireland. If you're watching around the world, there is an event on in Ireland now, which is going to mark all the people who passed and the people who are basically on the front lines in the current crisis. Also, if you have a bit of time, don't forget to donate to the matterfoundation.ie if you want to be in with a chance to win one of those spot prizes. I just need a screen grab of the thank you page. So it's just a screen grab of the thank you page. But we'll be back on at 9:07. Okay, folks, we're going to start back into the quiz again, just to run through with people the prizes. So the way it's going to work is we've got 2 more rounds of questions to go, and then everyone will press submit. And if everything works out well, I'll get a spreadsheet, and my sister Ruth is actually going to go through the spreadsheet. We'll find out who's won. And the way we're going to do it is we've got a selection of prizes, and we will give them, the first person will get first choice, and so on and so on. That means that I may not know tonight who's getting what prizes, but we should know the top 5 or 7 people, hopefully. If there is a tie, I've got another round of questions, and if there's a tie after that, I'm not really sure what we're going to do. But look, it's all in a good cause, and hopefully we won't have a tie. We might even have a clear win after the first 63 questions. Just to run through what the prizes are, though, we have another, so I'm going to do a spot prize for an Irish Newspaper Archives Gold subscription, and but then we also have a 1-year subscription to History Ireland magazine. We have Gill Books have given a bundle of their new releases and bestsellers. Some of these will be a bit delayed until things get back up and going, but that's Gill Books. Four Courts Press have given a voucher for their online for their store for another lucky winner. Then the writer Rory McKiernan has given a signed copy of his new bestseller, Hitching for Hope. You can find out more about that at hitchingforhope.com. Then Kilkenny, the artist, I'm sure lots of you know Kira from Twitter and Instagram. She's Kiriak. She's given a really lovely piece of artwork for as a prize. Then, if you're in New York, there's an amazing prize actually. Got the Rugby United are a professional rugby club in New York, and they've given 4 tickets to their season opener in 2021. So if you're in New York, you might want to take that. And thanks to Simon Gillespie for that. And last but certainly not least, or sorry, it's not even last or least, but next up we have Murphy Jewelers in Kilkenny, and they've given a €100 voucher for their online store. Thanks very much to Mert and Stephen for that. And we have then a lovely piece of artwork from Sam's Comparing, which is a lovely piece of artwork of a cow. Actually, it's really, I found it really uplifting actually in the current environment. But what we're going to do is we'll give those away at the end, and as I say, whoever finishes top, they'll get the choice of what they want, and we'll work down through it. As I say, it might take a day or two though for me to find out who wants what. We'll see how we go. But we'll have another couple of spot prizes as we go along, and I will be able to announce winners pretty quickly once everyone submits it. So let's do a spot prize now, and the quizmaster, the medical quizmasters in Dublin, my sister Ruth and Elisa Ryan, have come up with with a question here. So the Mater Hospital is famous for carrying out Ireland's first lung transplant. I'm informed they used to take place in Newcastle before that, Newcastle in England, but Ireland's first lung transplant took place in the Mater Hospital. If you email me with a screen grab of that thank you message from the Mater Hospital or from the Mater Foundation, and if you email me with that screen grab and tell me the year that happened. So when did the Mater Hospital do the first lung transplant in Ireland? Email me that right now, and you're in with a chance to get one of those gold subscriptions to Irish Newspaper Archives. So the next round is sport. So thanks to Kevin Brannigan for putting these together. This would have been well out of my league putting this together. So the first question in sport. In 1989, Billy Young and Brian Kerr led a League of Ireland selection to play in which country? So 1989, Billy Young and Brian Kerr led a League of Ireland selection to play in which country? And the options are Spain, Libya, Iran, Morocco, or Syria. Spain, Libya, Iran, Morocco, or Syria. Question 2. Name the first black player to win a senior international cap for the Irish soccer team. The first black player to win a senior international cap for the Irish soccer team. And the options there are Paul McGrath, Phil Babb, Chris Hughton, Stephen Reid, or Paul Bryant. Paul McGrath, Phil Babb, Chris Hughton, Stephen Reid, or Paul Bryant. Question 3. Since turning pro, how many wins does Katie Taylor have under her belt? 7, 10, 12, 14, or 15? Since turning pro, how many wins does Katie Taylor have under her belt? 7, 10, 12, 14, or 15? Question 4. How many Olympic gold medals does the Irish swimmer Michelle Smith have? How many Olympic gold medals does Michelle Smith have? And the 5 options there are 0, 1, 3, 4, or 5. 0, 1, 3, 4, or 5. And question 5. The terrace in Croke Park, known as Hill 16, was originally known as... So the terrace in Croke Park, known as Hill 16, was originally known as what? Hill 3, Hill 6, Hill 32, Hill 60, or Hill 80? Hill 16 used to be known as Hill 3, Hill 6, Hill 32, Hill 60, or Hill 80. Question 6. How many senior All-Ireland finals did former Taoiseach Jack Lynch win with Cork? So how many senior All-Ireland finals did former Taoiseach Jack Lynch win for Cork? And question 7. The 1947 All-Ireland Senior Football Final was unique because it was played where? McGovern Park in Ruislip in London, Páirc Uí Chaoimh in Cork, Celtic Park in Glasgow, the Polo Grounds in New York, or Lansdowne Road in Dublin. So that's the 1947 All-Ireland Senior Football Final was unique because it was played where? So those questions again in the sports round are in 1989, Billy Young and Brian Kerr led a League of Ireland selection to play in which country? Name the first black player to win a senior international cap for the Irish soccer team. Since turning pro, how many wins does Katie Taylor have under her belt? How many Olympic gold medals does the Irish swimmer Michelle Smith have? The terrace in Croke Park was known as Hill 16. The terrace in Croke Park, known as Hill 16, was originally known as what? How many senior All-Ireland finals did former Taoiseach Jack Lynch win with Cork? And in the 1947 All-Ireland Senior Football Final was unique because it was played where? I'm going through the answers for the spot prize and people's estimations of Irish medicine. People are very ambitious thinking that Irish doctors did a lung transplant in the 19th century. The correct answer was actually 2005. And I'm going back through them all, and the winner is... Sorry. The winner is Lynette Nelson. So, Lynette, I will be in touch after the quiz about that. Congratulations, Lynette. Congratulations. So we're going to move on to the last round, which is in terms of, these are kind of general history. I just put these together as kind of a general mix of different types of questions. This is kind of a tricky one, or one that will take a bit of thinking about. So Bridget Byrne was admitted to the North Dublin Workhouse in 1903. She was 109 years of age at the time, or at least that's what she claimed. It was in the admission book that she was 109 years of age. How many Republican rebellions had she lived through? So she was admitted to the workhouse in 1903. She was 109 at the time. How many Republican rebellions in Ireland had she lived through? And when I say this, I'm not talking about things like the Tide War or social conflicts like the Land War, kind of explicitly Republican uprisings. How many of those had she lived through since she had been born? The potential answers there are 3, 4, 6, 7, or 8. The questions are slightly mixed up. You've got question 6, I think, is probably the next one in your... I'll read this out. So question 6 is, what is generally considered to be the worst famine in Irish history, in terms of population loss, I guess is what the metric that it's probably judged by, but which is considered to be the worst famine in Irish history. And your options there are the Great Hunger of the 1840s, the Year of Slaughter of the 1740s, the Great Medieval Famine of the 1310s, the 1879 famine, that was the one that precipitated the Land War, or the 1924 famine. So you've got 5 options there: the Great Hunger, the Year of Slaughter, the Great Medieval Famine, or the 1879 famine, or the 1924 famine. Which is the worst one in Irish history? Now we're at question 2. Sorry about the mix-up there of numbers. Question 2 is, when asked who he supported in the Spanish Civil War, which Irish writer simply replied, "Up the Republic"? So an Irish writer was asked who he supported in the Spanish Civil War, and he simply replied, "Up the Republic." Was it James Joyce, Samuel Beckett, W.B. Yeats, Brendan Behan, or Sean O'Faolain? James Joyce, Samuel Beckett, W.B. Yeats, Brendan Behan, Sean O'Faolain. One of those people just replied, "Up the Republic," when asked who he supported in the Spanish Civil War. Here's a tough one. Which warhorse was first bred in medieval Ireland? It's a type of warhorse that was first bred in medieval Ireland. A destrier, a palfrey, a courser, a rouncy, or a hobbler. A destrier, a palfrey, a courser, a rouncy, or a hobbler. Question 4. The Roman name for Ireland was Hibernia. What does this mean? The Roman name for Ireland was Hibernia. What does this mean? Land of constant rain, land of eternal winter, land of eternal violence, land of autumn, land of wine. The Roman name for Ireland meant one of those. Land of constant rain, land of eternal winter, land of eternal violence, land of autumn, land of wine. Question 5. Which Tory leader supported intervention and famine aid in Ireland from 1846 onwards? Which Tory leader? Robert Peel, Lord Bentinck, Lord Monteagle, Nassau Senior, John O'Connell. Which Tory leader? One of those was a Tory leader who supported famine aid essentially for Ireland from about 1846 onwards. Question 7. During the Great Famine, Charles Trevelyan was what? So, during the Great Famine, Charles Trevelyan was a landlord, an MP, a civil servant, a member of the House of Lords, or a journalist. Which one of those was Charles Trevelyan? So, I'll just read out those again, because I think the first one is a little bit tricky. Bridget Byrne was admitted to the North Dublin Workhouse in 1903 at the age of 109. How many Republican rebellions had she lived through? How many Republican rebellions had she lived through? She was admitted to the workhouse in 1903 and she was at the age of 109. Then we jump forward to question 6 there. Which was the worst famine? The Great Hunger, the Year of Slaughter, the Great Medieval Famine, the 1879 famine, or the 1924 famine? Then we're back to that question about who set up the Republic when they were asked who they supported in the Spanish Civil War. James Joyce, Samuel Beckett, W.B. Yeats, Brendan Behan, or Sean O'Whellan. Question 3. Which warhorse was first bred in medieval Ireland? Which warhorse was first bred in medieval Ireland? The Roman name for Ireland was Hibernia. What does this mean? The Roman name for Ireland was Hibernia. What does this mean? Land of constant rain, land of eternal winter, land of autumn, land of wine. I think I missed one there. Land of constant rain, land of eternal winter, land of eternal violence, land of autumn, land of wine. The fifth question was about the Tory leader who supported famine aid in Ireland. Was it Peel, Bentinck, Monteagle, Nassau Senior, or John O'Connell? And question 7, a landlord, or what was Charles Trevelyan? A landlord, an MP, a civil servant, a member of the House of Lords, and a journalist. So far, I just want to see, at the moment, there's about 300 people watching. I don't know if everyone's going to submit one. At the moment, about 100 people have submitted their forms. I can see it here. Let's say we'll give people another 3 minutes. So it's 21:24, and by 21:27, you have to, I'm going to just cut it off there and take what's been submitted at that point, and we'll tally them up there. If you want, it's going to take a couple of minutes to figure this out. If you want, I'm not going to go through all the answers now, but if you want a question answered, just contact me at Irish History on Twitter. It's Irish History on Twitter. Just contact me there and I'll try and answer the question, or I should be able to answer them. I will give the answers to the questions if you contact me on Twitter. I will also have the answers like within at most 5 or 10 minutes. Less. I'd say it'll be 5 minutes once. So you've got, like, I really need you. You've got a minute now to submit the answers. It'll probably last about 30 seconds. Someone is demanding that I read out all the answers. We'll start and we'll see how we get on. Someone, I, someone's been very insistent that all the answers are read out. Sure, look, we'll start anyway. Yeah. Okay, if you're going to submit it, you've got like 30 seconds now. I'm just putting on a timer. I'll start reading out the questions. I just need to send off all the answers in a PDF to my sister, and she's going to. As we're at 30 seconds, I've got a text message saying hold on, but hurry on, Rosie. I'll go to the first round and then I'm sending it off. So, kings to warlords. Who was the monarch who came to Ireland during a royal visit? Was supposed to be there was a plan hatched to kidnap them and take them to the Wicklow Mountains. The answer is actually Queen Victoria in 1849. Kind of people who had been around the Young Ireland movement did come up with an idea that they were going to kidnap Victoria, take her up to the Wicklow Mountains. As far as I know, it was Charles Gavin Duffy who convinced them not to do it, arguing it would be an absolute disaster. Question 2 was what island in Ireland has a king into the 21st century? That, of course, was Tory Island. Which king besieged Dublin? The answer there is Robert Bruce in 1317. Question 4 was which prince did the Irish man Henry O'Farrell try to assassinate? It's actually Prince Alfred. Tried to kill, I think he's a son of Queen Victoria, tried to kill him in Australia. He hit him, I think, or he didn't work. Question 5 was who was the High King who succeeded Brian Boru? So the answer there is Muel Shocknell II. He had actually been the High King before Brian Boru as well. There's a whole podcast series on my website, irishhistorypodcast.ie, if you want to hear that story. The Kingdom of Ireland, when did it cease to exist? It ceased to exist in the Act of Union. Ireland became part of the United Kingdom in 1800, came into effect in 1801, but Ireland became part of it, and then at that point, the Kingdom of Ireland ceased to exist. And question 7, who was the Irish courtesan who was blamed for the who was blamed for the 1848 uprising in Bavaria? That, of course, was Eliza Gilbert, or better known as Lola Montez. Okay, folks, you've got your literally last 10 seconds to send them in. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. I have 289 responses, and I'm going to go with that. Just bear with me. I'll read out question 2 in a second. I would read out. So I think I'll actually be able to tell you as well who gave or what answers got the most correct answers as well. I won't be able to tell who got what, but just while my sister is totting up who was the winner. My computer is running very slow. I'm sure you can actually hear the fan. So let's read out the answers to question 2, or to round 2. Sorry, I'm reading the who got what questions. Round 2 was Revolutionaries. So I think, can't remember what the first question was. The first question was asking which rebellion was Anne Devlin involved in. Of course, that was the 1803 rebellion. Question 2, Mother Jones was born in Cork. Question 3, Countess Markovich was born Gore Booth. Which of these individuals was the last to die? That was actually Muriel McSweeney, died in London. Quite tragically died in London. Was died in London, almost entirely forgotten. Question 4. Question 3. Yeah, sorry, that was question 4. Question 5. The Battle of Carrickshock took place during the Tide War. Question 6. Oliver Bond was obviously, of course, a member of the Society for the United Irishmen. And question 7. The Cork native Fergus O'Connor was a leader of the Chartists in England and actually became an MP. Mythology. Who killed Fionn McCool's da? It was... Oh, I got you. These are the ones... Oh, Gull MacMorna. And then who were the ones who had come from, supposed to come from Spain and overthrown the overthrown the Tuatha De Danann? That was the Milesians. Who invented Ogham writing? No surprise at Omagh. Question 4. Cuchullin's best mate and foster brother that he fought to the death in single combat was Ferdia. Question 5. What's the stone at the Hill of Tara? That's the Leah Fall. Question 6. Where does the brown bull roam? That's the brown bull of Cooley, of course, not Kinnegad. And question 7. What goddess often associated with death in battle is depicted as a crow and sometimes appears washing blood-stained clothes to those who are about to die? That's the Morrigan. Scandal. Who did the daughter of the Lord Chancellor of Ireland, Lord Ashburn, try to assassinate? The answer here is Mussolini, and her name escapes me at the moment. Can someone text me her name? She's quite famous. She tried to assassinate Mussolini and then would spend most of her life in an asylum in Britain. I mentioned her in a podcast before. And her name will come back to me in a second. Question 2. Oscar Wilde sued which aristocrat? It was the Marquess of Queensberry, but of course, by doing this, he would essentially he would actually lead to his own prosecution. Question 3. Michael Collins in 1921 was rumoured to have had an affair with Lady Lavery. It was supposedly only rumoured though. Question 4. Richard Pigott. The Pigott affair was, of course, Charles Stuart Parnell. Then Louisa Murphy, thanks to Steph, it was actually Violet Gibson was the one who tried to assassinate Mussolini. Question 5. Louisa Murphy was Louis the lover of Louis XV of France. And question 6. Eleanor Butler and Sarah Ponsonby became known as the Ladies of Llangollen. And question 7. John Jameson, an heir to Jameson's whiskey and the distilleries, was implicated in a scandal around cannibalism. Actually, there was a huge dispute over whether he was accused of having hired or having bought a slave girl to be attacked by cannibals, which he would draw. He denied it vociferously, as you would. Music. Enya started her career with who? It was, of course, Clonard. The Thrills. It's not the Trills. It's the Thrills. I left a H out of that, were the band who were in the OC in 2005. Luca Bloom was the younger brother of Christy Moore. Question 4. Bruce Springsteen recorded a version of the song Mrs. McGrath. Question 5. The Lion and the Cobra is, of course, Sinead O'Connor's debut album. Bob Dylan said he was inspired or drew inspiration from the Clancy brothers, and John McCormack is the person who had the statues in Dublin and Athlone in 2014. Then we move on to War and Empire. What war the largest number of Irish participants? It's the US Civil War. Check out Damien Shields' blog and podcast, Irish and the American Civil War, if you want to find out more. But yeah, I think it's quite a considerable larger number than any other conflict. Question 2. The Irish person who was an agent of the Special Operations Executive in the Second World War. It's not Samuel Beckett. Samuel Beckett was in the French Resistance. It was actually a woman called Maureen O'Sullivan. Hubert Butler also was involved in more so after the war in helping reveal the role of the Catholic Church in helping the Ustashi in what was Yugoslavia. Question 3. During the Spanish Civil War, Donegal man Brian Gould Verschile was kidnapped and spirited away to which country, where he died in 1942. He was sent to the USSR. Very tragic case. He was actually a communist who fell foul of the Stalinist purges, was lured onto a ship in Barcelona harbour, and the ship immediately sailed for Odessa, and he was swallowed up by the Gulag system. A really tragic story. Question 4. Which Irishman served as the Viceroy of India? That's Richard Burke, the Earl of Mayo. Which of the following commanders from the Boer War was not born in Ireland? It's Lord French. And the question 6. The Dubliner Mary Clare Moore was a nurse during the Crimean War. And then the first Africans in Ireland were recorded from around 800 to 910. It's probably Vikings attacking either southern Spain or North Africa, brought what is referred to in texts as Dini Gorma, which is the Irish for black people. Then we move on to assassins and murders. Brian Boru's assassin or murderer was a man called Broder from the Isle of Man. He suffered a terrible fate, actually, if sources are to be believed. He was, I think they cut him open, took out his bowels, stapled or nailed him to a tree and made him run around the tree. Something horrific like that. A proper medieval death. Question 2. The Phoenix Park murders. So they're actually mistaken targets, but Frederick Cavendish was killed, and so too was I think his first name is Thomas Henry Burke. It's Burke anyway is the answer there. Most famous assassination during the famine was of Dennis Mahon in Strokestown. Oswald Swansea was killed by the IRA because of his involvement in the murder of Tomas McCurtain. Question 5. The last death sentence handed down in Ireland was in the 1980s, but it was commuted. The family murdered in the Mantrasna murders were the Joyce family. And the last death sentence carried out in Ireland was in 1954 for a particularly heinous crime. Then moving on to Spain, Brian Kerr, or sport rather. I'm finishing my series on the Spanish Civil War, so I'm obsessed with Spain at the moment. Question 1 is on Billy Young and Brian Kerr brought a team to Libya. Just let me check in actually at this point and see how they're doing. Let's see how long we'll be. Um, Second question in sport: the first black player to play for Ireland was Chris Hughton in 1979. And then question 3 was how many medals does Katie Taylor have? It's 15. Or how many wins rather. And then the Olympic gold medals that Michelle Smith has. A lot of people think she has none or 4. The answer is actually 3 because I think one of them is a bronze. It's why that. But a lot of people think she lost her medals. Hill 16 was. I'm told we'll have an answer in 1 minute. Hill 16 was previously known as Hill 60 after a battlefield. And question 6 was how many All-Ireland finals did Jack Lynch, or how many Ireland medals does Jack Lynch have? The answer is 6. And the 1947 football final was different because it was played in the Polo Grounds in New York. And then the general history round that we wrapped up on. Bridget Byrne was admitted to the workhouse in 1903 at the age of 109. She had lived through 4 Republican uprisings: 1798, 1803, 1848 and 1867. The worst famine in Irish history was generally thought by historians to be the year of slaughter in 1740. Although the country bounded back very quickly from it, it didn't have the same long-term impact as the Great Famine. Who said up the Republic when asked about who they supported in the Spanish Civil War? That was Samuel Beckett. The war horse bred in Ireland in the Middle Ages is the hobbler. The Hibernia means land of eternal winter. Question 5, the Tory leader is not Robert Peel. Robert Peel is often thought to have been sympathetic to Ireland. It's actually Lord Bentinck, who led one faction of the Tories after they fell from power. So Lord Bentinck is the answer there. Peel generally supported the Liberals. And Charles Trevelyan, contrary to what everyone believes, was not a landlord. He didn't have corn, as the song says. He was actually a civil servant in the Treasury. That's why he was able to wield so much influence in Ireland, or over the situation in Ireland. We'll have answers literally in a second. I can just go through. Can I see what was the most? Was there any questions? Anything interesting coming out here? William of War, it was not the person. It was Robert Bruce, rather, was the person who besieged Dublin. Prince Albert was the person people thought was the person assassinated. Murchadh O'Brien was not the king who followed Brian Boru. And the Act of Union, that was one that people got overwhelmingly well. The Act of Union was the thing that brought an end to Ireland. Looking here, people got the Constance Markovich question right overwhelmingly, 80% of people. Oliver Bond is obviously a well-known United Irishman. I'm curious how many people Googled these. Actually, there is a question later on that I thought would be very difficult to Google. I'm curious do people get it. The music questions people did very well on. Just look, you can get a summary of it, and people did very, very well in the music questions compared to any other round. The people thought World War I was the war, generally speaking, the war that most people died in. The people got the Brian Gould Versailles question. and the Crimean War. I'm suspecting people might have googled that one. It's a relatively obscure figure. And interestingly, people thought the first black people to come to Ireland was probably in the later Middle Ages, when it was in the Viking period. And we're still waiting. I'm talking my way through this, and I'm still waiting for my sister Ruth. I'm hoping she'll come back soon with the answers. She said 1 minute, 5 minutes ago. This is a long minute. Oh. I was given out, and they've actually she had sent them 5 minutes ago. So folks, what I'm going to have to do is actually ring them, because I can't make head nor tail of this. So if I can just bear with me for a second, and I'll have an answer for you. Okay, folks, I think people can probably hear me now. If someone can just text me saying they can hear me, that'd be great. John, maybe you could just send me a text. But I have an answer as to who has won. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out I'm going to read out the top 10. And I have a top 10 here. So number 12 with 44, or sorry, number 10 rather, with 44 out of 63 was Padraig Ruan. Number 9 was Ro Carey with 45. Then we have Andrew McLaughlin with 46. Brian Hosford with 47. Luke Maxwell with 47. Niamh Hamill with 47. Conor Murphy with 47. And then another with 47 is Manus and Luke O'Riordan. Then 51 was James. This is all out of 63. There were 63 questions in total. 51, James Seymour. And the winner is, and this is not a fix, but the winner is DJ Walsh from Snugcast. Congratulations, DJ, on winning. What I'm going to have to do is, guys, I'm going to have to contact DJ and let him pick what prize he wants, and we'll work down through the prizes there, and it might take me a day or two. So congratulations to DJ Walsh. So I'll work back down through it. It was DJ Walsh, James Seymour, Manus and Luke O'Riordan, Conor Murphy, Niamh Hamill, Luke Maxwell, Brian Hosford, Andrew McLaughlin, Ro Carey, and Padraig Rowan. What I'm going to do is put that up, and then I'll put a longer list of 20. I'll put them up on Twitter. I just want to outline again all the people who gave prizes. There was those gold subscriptions to the Irish Newspaper Archives. Murphy Jewelers in Kilkenny gave a €100 voucher. Wordwell Books gave a subscription to History Ireland magazine. Gill Books gave a bundle of their new releases. Four Courts Press have given a voucher. Rory McKiernan has given Hitching for Hope. The artist Kyriak has given artwork, as has the artist Sans Comparn. And then there's those tickets in America for the season opener of Rugby United in New York in 2021. Folks, last but not least, you can still make a donation to the Mater Foundation in Dublin. They're doing absolutely Trojan work, really important work in supporting what's going on in the Mater Hospital at the moment. And I think probably a lot of people in Ireland feel we're kind of maybe heading in the right direction, but like the Mater Hospital do need a huge amount of support, and it's a fantastic institution. I've been there many times myself, and actually there's a podcast in the archive as well on the history of the Mater. It's a fascinating place. But anyway, right now it needs your support, and you can make a big difference by going to materfoundation.ie and give them whatever you can, like whatever you think, whatever you can will make a difference, small or more. I'm going to leave it there, folks. Thanks a million for tuning in. It was really good fun, and sure, maybe might do it another time again. Thanks a million, and I'll be in touch with everyone who has won prizes. It might take me a day or two. There's an awful lot of emails now that I have to sift through. But thanks for tuning in, folks, and I'll talk to you soon. You can find out, by the way, you can find my podcast on irishhistorypodcast.ie.